Some countries are born in fire. Others are born in ink. This is the story of a nation that technically exists, with documents, treaties, borders, and signatures, but whose people were never truly asked if they wanted it. No revolution, no referendum, no voice. Just paper. In conference rooms far from the land itself, decisions were made. Men in tailored suits, sipping tea or whiskey, traced lines across maps with rulers and compasses. They spoke of strategic interests, ethnic balance, and administrative efficiency, but rarely of memory, rarely of belonging, rarely of the grandmother who still hummed lullabies in a tongue no school would teach. Maps unfolded, borders straightened, never mind that rivers meandered, mountains divided, and villages straddled old paths older than empires. Names were assigned, clean, pronounceable, legible to foreign diplomats. The messy, layered names, the ones that carried stories of saints, battles, harvests, floods, were filed away as local variants. A country was declared complete before a single child knew how to pronounce its name. The land did not change. The soil remained the same red clay that had fed generations. The rivers did not move. They kept flowing toward the same sea, indifferent to the new checkpoints on their banks. The people did not disappear. They still rose at dawn, tended goats, wove baskets, prayed in shrines older than any constitution. But overnight, they were citizens of something they did not recognize. Passports arrived before consent, flags before identity, anthems before memory. People woke up inside a nation they never chose, and from that moment on, everything was explained to them by the state. Who they were, what they were called, which language counted as national, which history mattered enough to be printed in textbooks. Those who did not fit were ignored. Their dialect was labeled regional, a polite way of saying not real. Their customs became local color, performed for tourists or during heritage festivals, then packed away like costumes. Their history? Reduced to a footnote if it appeared at all. Sometimes entire centuries vanished between the lines of an official chronology. They were told they belonged, but belonging felt administrative, like checking a box on a form, like reciting a pledge you memorized but never felt, like wearing a uniform that fits your body but not your soul. The world recognized the country immediately. Embassies opened in capital cities. Borders were enforced with guards and gates. Maps were updated in classrooms from Tokyo to Toronto. The outside world accepted it as fact. Inside, confusion settled like dust. Fine, pervasive, impossible to sweep away completely. Because the nation existed clearly on paper, but vaguely in the hearts of its people. People learned to perform citizenship, to answer census questions correctly, to check the right boxes, ethnicity, language, religion, to nod when the national anthem played, even if the melody felt foreign. Identity became something rehearsed. Children memorized a national history that began abruptly on the Day of Independence or Unification or Decree, as if nothing had existed before that date, as if time itself had been reset by a signature. No ancestors, no continuity, no before. Just a beginning written by strangers, men who had never walked the fields, never tasted the well water, never heard the wind through the olive trees. The state was stable, the economy functional, the borders secure. And yet something felt unfinished, unrooted, like a house built on sand but painted to look like stone. Years passed. The country aged faster on paper than in culture. Institutions matured, parliaments convened, courts ruled, ministries issued reports. Statistics improved, GDP rose, literacy climbed, infrastructure spread. But belonging remained fragile, like glass held too tightly. Because you cannot manufacture identity at scale. You can print flags by the million. You can broadcast anthems from every radio tower. You can mandate school uniforms and national holidays, but you cannot command the heart to feel home. People still measured time by old festivals, the ones tied to planting and harvest, not presidential birthdays. Still named places by older words, the bend where the fox crossed, the hill where the elders met. Still remembered borders that maps denied, borders drawn not by ink, but by kinship, trade, and shared grief. They lived in the country, but not inside it. The nation existed, but the nation was hollow. Historians would later debate whether this was failure or design, because a country without deep roots is easier to manage. A people without shared memory is easier to govern. When your past is fragmented, you look to the state for coherence. When your identity is uncertain, you accept the label offered. When your history is erased, you believe the version handed down. Unity becomes compliance. Stability becomes silence. And silence looks like peace, but silence is not peace. It is waiting. Today, the country still exists, recognized by the United Nations, documented in almanacs, defended by soldiers who may not know why they're guarding this particular line on the map. But beneath the flag, multiple identities breathe quietly. In kitchens, grandparents whisper stories in forbidden tongues. In basements, musicians play melodies banned from state radio. In notebooks, poets write verses that rhyme in rhythms no textbook acknowledges. They wait, not for rebellion necessarily, but for recognition, for the day when the map might bend to the land, not the other way around. Because a nation can be declared in a day, but belonging belongs to time. And time remembers what paper forgets. Time remembers the woman who buried her husband under an oak tree long before the border shifted. Time remembers the market where 3 languages once traded not just goods, but jokes, proverbs, and recipes. Time remembers the songs sung at dusk when the call to prayer and the church bell rang at the same hour. Paper draws lines. Time weaves threads. And a true nation is not a document. It is a tapestry, woven slowly, torn with great violence, mended with patience, memory, and mutual care. Perhaps one day the people will be asked, not just counted, not just categorized, but consulted, not as subjects of a state, but as authors of their own story. Until then, they live in the gap, between the map and the memory, between the passport and the pulse, between what is written and what is lived. And in that gap, quietly, stubbornly, they remain, not citizens of a fiction, but keepers of a truth that refuses to be erased. Because some nations are born in fire, others are born in ink, but the ones that last, they are born in belonging. And belonging cannot be decreed. It must be grown.